All right, welcome to the Never Ready podcast. Today I am joined by Tara Nickole, a local musician with 15 plus songs out. Tries to release bi weekly, every other week. Plays shows pretty much consistently every weekend in the surrounding area. Has joined her has joined bands such as Arkansas, the Hillbenders, bands like that. Shared the stage with them. Um, yeah, pretty much. I'll let you say a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm really bad at talking about myself, especially when that's the entire subject. So here we are. I am 29 years old. The fact that I'm almost 30 is my whole personality right now, because that's terrifying. I started doing music seriously about, I think it's 2 years ago now. Honestly, like to the month, actually, November 2022.
Mm.
Yeah, was the first time I got up there and sang with Blade and what was a full band at the time. And I was petrified, and all the photos, I'm standing there like this. So that's really fun. That was cool. But it was a great experience. Obviously, it made me want to keep doing it. Once you kind of get that hunger for doing something you were literally like gifted to do when you were born, you can't really get rid of it. So you suppress it for a while. I think I did, but once you get a little taste of it, it just takes off from there.
Yeah, that pretty good segue into what we're doing actually here, because the whole point of this podcast is it's called Never Ready, just like the title of my company. And I like to sit down with artists, because I feel like a lot of people are in that stage of their life where they're just waiting for the opportunity, or they are never ready, which is
Yeah.
exactly why I called it this. Because personally, I never was. I always had the next excuse.
Yeah,
I'll
agreed.
do it when this comes. I'll do it when I'm
Yeah.
here or when there. But I felt personally, I realized that you just never are gonna get to that point. It's always gonna be the next thing.
Yeah.
So my main question is to give us a little bit of backstory about who you are, what it was that, or maybe even your initial mindset of where you were before, and then what it was that switched you to being ready, to committing to something that is for yourself and not just, for yourself and not just for, you.
Yeah.
I don't want to say family and everything, because obviously everything you're doing is for your family, but
Right. Yeah.
something that finally, you're diving into yourself. You're
Yeah.
not taking the safe route.
Yeah.
So just what overall made you want to commit to yourself, and where
Yeah.
were you before that?
Well, I had really gone into the whole like young wife, young mom kind of life before I graduated high school, got married, got pregnant super fast, and then about 4 years ago, just kind of upheaved that whole life. It wasn't working. I wasn't happy. A lot of reasons, but reflecting in on myself, I think a big portion of that is I could have been happy, for the most part, but I don't think that's ever really exactly what I wanted. I just kind of did it because I grew up in small town Mayberry and, follow the crowd. That's what you do, that kind of thing. Um, so upheaved that whole kind of homey small town life and was just kind of fumbling through trying to figure out who I was. Um, Two steps forward, one step back a lot, and then I reconnected with Blade, who was trying really hard with you to dive into this talent that he was born with and honed over the years and just hadn't really done anything with, that was also his big passion. And I thought that was really cool. So he reached out to me when he saw me kind of posting videos on Facebook of me just singing to like literal, karaoke music on YouTube, trying to work through some pain that I was going through at the time, and that was really therapeutic for me. So he reached out and we reconnected, and then it just kind of introduced me into you guys, just everybody who was very much committed to making something of Blade and his talent and that lifestyle, and everybody really, I mean, welcomed me. I never felt unwelcomed, and encouraged me to pursue that and participate. And I mean, I feel lucky in that regard. I feel like a lot of people uh, start this journey and they don't have anybody like that around them. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I was a strong enough personality for that. I don't know if I ever would have full send went for it if I wasn't introduced to basically a community of people trying to do that already. So I wasn't ready. But it was a lot easier for me to jump into it, I think, with that.
It's really interesting that that's the first thing we went to because, I mean, she knows we're all dear friends with Funk, who was in the first episode of this, and we talked a lot about it's the people. Like, you very much are a culmination of the people you hang around, and when
I agree.
you get into that little group of driven people trying to do something, it's way easier to pull yourself into that.
And not to say, like, I love all of my people before I met you guys as well, but
no shame on anybody.
No, it's nothing like that. It's just that I think, I grew up hearing this is a great like talent that you have for a hobby, and not that I think anyone was trying to be malicious in saying that, but when you hear that from being a little girl, it kind of like sticks in there. And, playing on the safe side can be a lot easier. As an adult, I admit that wholeheartedly. So, yeah, I never thought of it as anything like a career serious, just something I could do for fun, but like don't quit your day job kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like I spent a lot of time in my earlier years around realists, so they call themselves, but it to me just feels like pessimists.
Yeah.
Like people who are like, no, that could never work. You need to get the safe route, take the job, do all this. And you start to believe all that because it's sold to you as this is like the real, this is what you need to do. And then there's all the other options of stuff that you can do, which is the whole, literally where I was at with the Never Ready.
Yeah.
You're just waiting to get to that point where you feel like you can dive into yourself,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I get it. I succumbed for a long time to the corporate job, and I'm a driven person. For some reason, it felt easier to be driven for like another person's dream for a long time. I guess just because they already had made their money and could pay me weekly, it was something that you can count on financially.
safe.
Yeah. But
She has 2 kids, 4 now with her relation or with Blade.
Yeah.
So you have 2 kids to think
That's
about
a
the
lot to
entire
think about.
time.
Yeah.
And real early, right out of like school, right?
Yeah. I had a Jade. She's my oldest when I was 19. So that mindset of always, providing for your kids, of course, is the biggest thing. It's in the forefront of your mind. Yeah.
Put the rest on the back burner.
For sure. So I climbed that corporate ladder and, with that work ethic, and that was great and all that, but I was so unhappy. It's not a place that I'm meant for. I can be successful in that environment, but I don't necessarily, I just couldn't imagine myself being there forever. Like when I thought about that, I mean, it was suffocating, that thought. Yeah.
Very much. I got my own situations just like that. I think I talked about it a little in the first episode, but so I won't dive too much into it for all them. But I think you know some. When I was working at Ranger, factory, they started showing I was doing good, climbing fast because I'm a hard worker.
Yeah.
And most people with that kind of job are just there to get a check. So I was doing good, and then they started showing me like the actual like projections of what I was going to be making. I was going to be able to retire in like my mid-40s. Just if I kept doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I panicked. This factory was next door to my high school. I literally left school, went to the first job. I didn't even want the job.
Yeah.
I went there with my buddy because I was just hanging out with my friend. And he's like, hey, man, I'm swinging by Ranger to apply. You want to come? I was like, I guess.
Yeah,
I went in and applied. Like, we just graduated. I went in to apply. And we got calls 30 minutes later, both of us, to come back and do it. They gave us a joint interview and a joint walkthrough, like, together and put us in the same department. And I was like, oh, cool, I work with my best friend.
Yeah.
But when they started showing me the projections of, like, what I was going to make, I got terrified. Because I'm like, I'm going to retire in my same hometown. I'm going to live right next door to my school. So I immediately walked from that meeting to back to my station, started getting in my head a little bit. Text my old boss I worked for some summers at a mowing company in Springfield. So could you use a new guy? And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, yeah. I'm like, how soon can I start? And he said 2 weeks. And I walked up, put my 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
And he was like, Lonnie was like, what? Like right after
I
we just.
literally just told you how successful you're gonna be, and you were like, "Nope, don't want that."
One thing that was hilarious is like he gave me like a what, but then he really didn't seem that bothered by it. And the
Yeah.
next day he didn't show up to work. He had started working at Vexus, so he was doing the same thing. He's
He's
out.
like,
He's
I
like,
get
I
it.
get it, dude,
Yeah,
but I
I get
gotta
it.
pretend like
Well,
oh.
there's that too, and like that's funny. But another situation is like, I worked for this big corporate place for 8 years, and by the time I left, I was in management, and I very much tried to invoke change, which people who had been there for a long time hated, loathed me for. Hi, I hope you're watching this. But anyways, so I would get so stressed out that I would be literally physically sick. I remember I I was so stressed out one weekend that I went away for the whole weekend to celebrate my grandma's birthday with my whole family. And I really thought about that. Like the whole time, it was literally like I had the flu. When I get very stressed out, I get like flu symptoms. Just your nervous system's completely shot.
And stress affects everyone in different ways,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that was really sad, Like I was trying to have just a fun, relaxing weekend with my family to celebrate my grandma. And I did it, but I felt like shit the whole time because of this job. And that was a huge. I had felt like that before, but I didn't have the support system I have now. So feeling that and being with who I'm with, who only supports like the best for me, it was like, what are you doing? Like this is terrible. And the funny part is that I had trained my replacement, before I left. Like it just so sad to. So yeah, quit the fucking job. They're gonna replace you anyways. Like they're literally not going to care. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
going to
you
care.
dedicate 40 years of your life to this
Yeah.
company, and if you drop dead today, they'll replace your job tomorrow.
Yeah. And I mean, business, no hard feelings. It's got to
Yeah,
keep it's
exactly.
got to keep going,
Yeah,
like it can't stop because you're dead, but that's the whole point. Like
if you're
don't
gonna
stop your life for a company that replaces you immediately. I mean,
absolutely, and if you're gonna put that level of commitment into something that will stress you to that point,
do it
might
for
as,
yourself. Yeah.
exactly. I had a similar thing, not with the. Uh, it just made me think about it. Really, talking about your grandma, and this was a little switch that I made. It was actually what switched me to go from being employed to being self-employed because I started my own business pretty soon. I mean, I worked for that mowing company briefly just to
Yeah.
make a living. I moved, I stayed away, so I had to make some money.
Yeah.
But by the time I, got my feet under me, I just started my own business. I was doing the flooring and tile stuff primarily because of a promise I made to myself after working at Ranger. My Nana passed away, my great grandma, and she lived in Indiana, and I'm in Arkansas. So my family was all gonna go up there for like a week and a half and like visit my papa. He's 80.
Yeah.
Now his wife died and everything's gonna be alone. We're gonna stay with him for a while, help take care of everything, and work wouldn't let me go because it was too long, and I was gonna point out, and they would have fired me. So I missed my Nana's funeral, and that ate at me so hard. But I promised myself from that point on, I don't care what the excuse is. Like,
Yeah.
if I have something that I personally feel, no matter what it is, whether it's family or just some work thing, I don't care what it is. If I
Yeah.
have something I personally feel like I'm gonna go to, I need to be at,
Yeah.
there's nobody stopping me anymore. And I mean, I succumbed to it at that point because it was fresh out of high school,
Yeah.
first job. I'm like terrified of losing it. Just got my apartment. Like, I got all these bills. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
So, but I promised myself at that point, I'm like, nope, not doing it. So that's when I switched to being self-employed.
Yeah.
And even there, man, like, you just start to, when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you just don't feel happy.
Yeah.
Like, I was making hella money. I was doing a hell of a lot better than I am now with all this.
Yeah.
But I'm so much happier sitting in here doing something like this than
Yeah.
getting up and going to make $1,000 building a shower.
Yeah.
Like, why? It's not something that's fulfilling to me. It's not something I want to do. I feel so much better trying to, especially, I mean, I've always been an artist, not even just particularly music. I've just always been creative.
Same. Yeah.
And I love I know what's pushed me down and where I felt in those situations. So it makes me feel so good to help people not be in that situation or like
Yeah.
reach their own fullest potential kind of thing. And it's always super obvious when someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
There ain't no
Like,
light in their eyes,
no,
man.
and you only
They're
have one
just,
life. You can't waste it. You know?
yeah, that's the scariest part, too. Like, I know I said I make being almost 30 my whole personality because I do. I think about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the age 30 is like making me realize my mortality, but it totally is.
I know I hit 27 and realized like, oh, I'm on the back end of 20s. Like
I
I'm getting
know.
close.
No, I know. 27 was
That was the one.
yeah.
26 was like whatever, but
Yeah,
I just
I'm
turned
just a
27
baby. It's
but a
fine.
few months ago,
Yeah.
and when it hit, it's like I'm only 3
I
years from
know.
30.
I'm like 25. Yeah, I can rent a car now. 26, still pretty young. 27, fuck. 28,
We're
oh
getting
shit.
there.
29, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. And then Blade turns 30, and I'm like, I might as well be 30. It's scary. We were just I was talking about that with my dad. He's about to be 50, and I was like, man, in my brain, you are in your 30s still, you know? And my grandpa, he just turned 81 yesterday. Happy birthday, Grandpa. And he's like, he's like in his late 50s, 60s to me, but he just turned 81. I'm like, this mortality thing is freaking me out. It's coming in. It's closing in.
Man, speaking of the mortality thing, it's such like it can either be your crippling factor, which is what makes you feel never ready, is because you like I got to make sure all this is done. I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Or it can be your strongest motivator, you know, because I mean, well, I've had multiple experiences with death close to me,
Yeah.
and that really opens your eyes to the fact of like I could die tomorrow. I could leave this interview and something could happen. I could get in a car crash and that'd be the end of it. So if I only have X amount of time, might as well dive into myself and not waste it all making money for somebody else. It's not even about the money, but just not waste the
Just
time
no,
building something for somebody.
making your life. I mean, don't waste the time making your life because we all of us, hardcore. I think it's a protective thing too, but we all take our time on this earth for granted, like all of us. And I do think it's like a defensive thing because, like, who wants to walk around going, like, I could die right now. I could die right now. I could die right now. Like, that's depressing. But it is the truth. I mean, you could not wake up tomorrow. That's just plain and simple. People around you die all the time, whether it's from old age or, like, some tragedy. And yeah, I mean, it just is mind-blowing every time, but it happens every day. So... yeah, no, I don't want to die having worked for a corporation where half the people hated me because I was trying to change shit, and the other half liked me well enough, but wouldn't even have a relationship with me if I stopped working there. It is what it is, and it's not to talk shit about anybody else. It's just realizing like what you don't want, and hell, I don't want that.
Yeah. Like back to the replace you thing, like literally if you died today, they'd just replace you tomorrow, and like how most of them wouldn't even come to your funeral. So it's like, why are you diving into all that? You know, spend time with
there's a few managers there that would probably be like, oh, thank God.
You'd be dancing on the grave.
Yeah, I'd be like, God, thank God. I was worried she was going to come back here at some point.
You start haunting your old workspace.
Hell yeah, I would. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, my time isn't finished yet. I got to go back to this very modern-esque looking building here across the street on 201 from Baxter Lab. And I need to haunt these bitches.
What's funny is just the way life works out, because me and Blade together used to get kicked out of skating at that same place before they remodeled it, and there was the big 7 stair in the front. We got kicked out of there so many times. He's the only person that ever showed up to my house, and he's like, you want to go skate Baxter Lab? Which he didn't mean Baxter Lab, he meant ASC, but it was just what we knew was there.
Yeah.
And I lived all the way on the other side of town. Neither of us have vehicles. And we skate all over town all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But that was just so out there. Like, we had to take, that one road all the way out there. I think it's 201, but we had to take that all the way out there. So we're just like, it was so funny to be that he was the only one who's like, let's go way out here to skate this one stair when there's like 40 stairs all over town.
It was his favorite stair.
Yeah, it's funny the way life works out, because even my wife ended up working there with you for a while. So it's like every time I picked her up from work, I'm just looking at the spots where like people used to come out and yell at me.
I know.
Like,
he's like, Blade does that too. What's even weirder is that that building was being renovated when I first started working there, and Blade was a part of some of the renovations. So he was there while I worked there, like walking around doing stuff, but we never ran into each other. I had no idea he was one of the guys there doing
Yeah, you
stuff.
would have recognized him too because you went to school with
Immediately,
him.
yeah,
So,
we've known each other since we were kids. But we have a lot of like near misses like that in our life, which is really
I
funny.
feel like you had to both get to the point where you're at now because, I mean, you know, we talked before, you guys would not have worked out if you just started years ago. I think you even tried dating your sister there for a while, like that way back in the day, right?
When they were in high school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
you know, high school stuff.
Whatever.
But it's just so funny to,
Don't worry, we give him hell about that.
but ending up where we are is just, it's so funny. And it all is very much like time oriented. Like if we all would have met, you know, even if you would have came around the first time I lived with Blade, we weren't doing any music stuff. I've complained to Blade as long as I've known him. Like if you scroll back on this exact YouTube channel before it was ever Never Ready Productions, I think the very first video is Blade playing guitar. Because every single time I made the YouTube for that, every time we got together, I was like, dude, you're fantastic. Do something. So like I would just pull out my phone and film whatever he's doing and then post it to YouTube, which is so funny. It's great though to look at because on the exact same YouTube we're using now, you can see the progression.
Yeah.
And then you can go back to when he was just like a teenager coming over to my
Right.
house to pick me up to skate, grabbing my guitar just because like it's there.
Because it's there and he's
Yeah.
doodling on
Yeah,
it.
I love it. I think Tennessee Whiskey was the cover he did first, and it's not great. It's
Really?
not bad. It's Blade, but it was
But
Blade.
it's not
it was
what he
teenage
is
Blade.
now, yeah.
Who was probably drinking a little bit, and we're not fully there. There's some little cracks and whistles there that wouldn't
Yeah.
typically be there.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, all the less, I mean, a lot of people probably hear him like it's still really good. I mean, I'm just judging him on where we are now because now I've always considered Blade to be phenomenal. It's just he lacks the drive. He very much he fit that never ready bill. You know, yeah, I'm very excited to do his episode after we're done here chatting. Not to rush you out of here. I'm just saying. Like, gosh, not excited for this
I'm
one at
not
all.
that interesting.
No.
Sorry.
I was looking forward to this in general because it's, you know, I wish I could do all my episodes like this where they're just back to back the same day because it'd be real nice just to sit and chat with everybody.
Right.
And I like this, even if we don't even end up talking about what we're meant to talk about. I love just the sitting down chatting. And something about the headphones and the mic just makes
I know,
conversating
it's very
so
official.
nice.
I feel like a very professional woman right now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to be wearing a suit. I just got my white t-shirt
I
on.
know.
I had a nice sweater on, but it's really hot in here, so sorry.
I'm obviously a cold-natured person. I'm in sweat. I thought about dressing up too, but it's Sunday. I've worked
You had 2
6
shows.
days straight at this point. I'm wearing my comfy sweatsuit.
Didn't get back. It's, I don't know, like 11 or
Yeah.
something.
Hold on. 10:41.
See, we're getting there. And they didn't get back till, what, 11 hours ago?
Yeah, I think we got back around close to midnight, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's a very busy schedule. We're either in the studio or at work or playing shows
On the
pretty
go.
much every day.
Yeah.
It's a busy life we lead.
Right now, yeah. So, comfy sweatsuit it is. That's all I got. That's all I got in me today.
Definitely. So you would just say your biggest switch would be community, essentially?
Yeah, the people I've surrounded myself with. This is really, I mean, breaking into the music industry is really hard, and it's a lot of work and not a lot of sleep and constantly having your creative brain turned on, which if you're a creative person, it's kind of always there, but like trying to stretch that muscle to where it gets like stronger and bigger all the time can be really exhausting. Making sure you're not complacent because, you know, if you're hustling for yourself, you just can't really be complacent. I mean, complacency is the death of progress in your, you know, business building essentially. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have had the fortitude to do it all by myself. So yeah, I would say community has been everything.
Definitely. I mean, even so, for me, I know I was probably the first one to make Blade sit down and be like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But I very much wasn't doing that by myself. You know,
Yeah.
it took me diving into somebody else to have that sense. Well, really, it's the sense of accountability for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I was coming from a very down point. I was not mentally in a good spot here.
Yeah.
So to pull myself out of that, I knew the kind of stuff I wanted to be doing with my life. But I just dove into a friend. You know, I
Yeah.
made myself accountable for making sure that we're progressing his career. And through doing that, I ended up progressing my career quite a bit and learning all the things I need to learn.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for me, it was too even very much just diving into other people because it's
Yeah.
so hard to commit to yourself because there's so much more self doubt when it's all on
Yeah.
you. But when like if I had to write a song every week to drop out, I was there for a while, but it pretty quickly became fleeting. But
Yeah.
if I have songs that like for you guys, like I need to have your song done by Friday, I'm gonna make sure I have your song done by Friday.
Yeah.
That sense of accountability is so much stronger when you have a group of people.
Yeah, I agree. Don't. It's sad, but it is a lot easier to like let yourself down than it is to let other people down. It shouldn't be, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's because you can just sweep it under the rug and
Yeah.
it's just you and you're fine, and but if you place that on somebody else, it feels yucky.
It's easy to keep that I'll do it tomorrow mindset, and then tomorrow just becomes today, and then you're gonna
Yeah.
do it tomorrow, or you're gonna
And
do it
again
next
and
week,
again
and
and
it's just
again. Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah, you
wanna.
make the decision and start the moment that you make that decision. It's really the only way, at
Mm-hmm.
least for me. Maybe there's some stronger people out there that are like, I'm going to do this tomorrow. And they're like, tomorrow's here. Let's get it done. I'd be like,
I
I'm
have to live
actually
by the
doing this.
calendar. Like you
Yeah.
mean you see you
Mm-hmm.
work here with me every day. If I don't put something on that calendar,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna get done. I
Yeah.
don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But even if I don't want to do something, I walk into the studio first thing in the morning. I look at the calendar. I'm
You're
like,
like,
oh,
all
I'm
right,
doing
yeah,
all that
I'm
today.
doing that. Yeah.
But man, I do look forward to at the end of the month when the calendar's like all marked out. I very much look forward
Mm-hmm.
to filling it
All
back
that
up for the next
yeah.
month. You know.
And accomplishing all that, like, I am busy, and there are times where I come home and I'm like, God, I just don't have the energy for that, but I do it anyways. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, bet, good job, proud of myself. I
That's
did
the
it
big thing.
anyways.
Just
Yeah,
do it anyways. You
yeah.
know, like.
The time is going to pass either way.
That's like the
You
whole
know.
idea here. If you're never ready, you're always tired. So do it not ready. Do it not tired. Do it distracted.
Yeah.
Just do it. You know,
Just do it.
it's really that simple. Is sit down and do the work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's I don't know. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. A lot of people can very much overcomplicate things. Like Blade, when we first started, he's always wanted this,
Yeah.
but he did not know how to do it or how to make it a career. All he knows is how to grab his guitar, play, sing, and make everybody pay attention.
Yeah.
But in my mind, like even without knowing what you got to do, it's like, okay, if you want to be a musician, what do? They put songs out. So, okay, first we need to learn to record. So we're recording songs. They do music videos. Cool. So we started working on that. They do content. So we're making content. They do shows. So you guys play shows every single weekend. And just from where we started to where we are is a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like he literally, it's got to the point where, like, both of y'all even, you're Tara Nickole. You're not Tara Phelan,
Mm-hmm.
which you mean you are, but
Yeah.
when you know your stage is who you
Mm-hmm.
are. He's not Blade Lawrence. He's Blade Law.
Yeah.
And it's got to the point where like people accept that and like will treat you
Yeah.
as such. But it just takes all that time to dive into yourself, and it's really hard when, especially in your hometown, like when you're
Yeah.
trying to become like he's trying to become Blade Law, you're trying to
Yeah.
become Tara Nickole, and everyone's like, "You're Tara Phelan. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? You know,
Yeah.
I've known you forever." And I'm like, it's man, that's a big thing of why I want to move out of my hometown because like. I mean, none of us really took huge name changes or anything.
Right.
Like, I just started going by my first name instead of my middle name.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everybody here is going to see me and be like, hey, Blake, instead of,
Right.
hey, Christian. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is fine. But
Mhm.
try to build something in your hometown is so much harder, you know, because
Yeah.
you're
You're
who you are.
already
But you get like
established, yeah.
typecasted, you know, as like, this is
Yeah.
who you are. And people don't. I feel like when you start really diving into yourself, it points out to everybody else what they're not doing.
Mhm.
So it's like it's harder for everybody else that you've known your whole life to accept it and push that for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But that's again why it's so hard for people that don't have a sense of community and people
Mhm.
that are like-minded and want to do stuff. Because if all you're around is all the realists that are
Yeah.
like, we got to get a job, and you're like, I want to do this music stuff, and they're like, well, who's
How are
gonna
you
watch your
gonna
kids on Saturday?
how are you gonna make money?
Yeah, what and you
Yeah.
gotta, I mean, you just roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Whatever needs to be taken care of, you just take care of it.
Yeah.
If you really break things down and do just one step at a time, it gets so much easier to take this big picture of like what you want to do. Be like, I want to be a number one star in the world. That sounds unreachable and unfathomable to think about. How the hell do
Yeah.
you do that? You just break it down. What's the first thing you need to do? Start making music. You're not going to be
Yeah.
great right away. Like, I like to call, like, a lot of my first songs, I think a lot of them suck.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't care. I've had so many people comment on stuff and be like, this is awful. And I'm like, it's my first songs. I have to
Okay.
learn how to make music. I don't
Yeah.
care. Um, I love giving people crap on the comments. Like, I feel like I'm trying to be super polite about it. Uh, but just recently, I had somebody I did a making content song
Oh
where I'm just
yeah.
like talking crap on the fact that to be a musician now, you're not making music. I mean, you are, but you have to be making content, doing all that,
Yeah.
which it doesn't have to be a miserable process. Like, you can really dive into what you like creatively. But I made like a just super generic. I'm like dancing in front of the green screen. I didn't even change the color. It's just a green screen. I'm just dancing in front of it. But I had somebody comment on it and be like, "This is trash." And I was like, bro, I don't know if you listened, but literally I said in the song, this is probably the worst thing I've ever done, but it has content, so it'll probably do all right. And look, we're here talking about it. You ain't commenting on my other songs. We're here
Yeah.
talking about this one.
Thanks for boosting my video.
It was so funny because dude was back and forth with me in the comments, like he was trying to be like, "You're
Yeah.
just trash," and I was like, "Thanks, man." And then he felt it seemed like he was very defeated
Yeah, I
by the
mean,
fact that I was like, "No, dude, I agree with you. This sucks." And he's like,
he's like, "Oh, okay. All right." Yeah, fucking social media, man.
"Yeah, it's a nightmare to really think about the fact that that's our job.
I know.
Like,
I
where you?
never a content creator,
Oh
which no
God,
hate to anybody who makes all their money doing that cuz like your hustle is real. I especially those people that do like vlogs of their whole day. I mean, how do you get up, set up your whole recording system, lay back in bed and pretend like you're just waking up for the first time?
yeah,
You know what I mean? When you really sit down and think about all the stuff that goes into them, like getting those shots, I'm like, I
yeah."
don't think about that shit at all.
I think about it a lot watching just a little plug for a TV show here. There's a show called Alone. I don't know what I watch it on Hulu, so I'm not sure what it's actually on. But they're just alone out in the wilderness, and they're sent out there with like this pack of cameras and stuff they got to do. And I'm always watching it with my old lady because she isn't a filmer and editor and all that stuff like I am. So like we'll be looking at these shots of them like walking away from the camera, walking down the beach, and I'll just like I'm like he has to turn around, walk right back, grab the camera, and then walk that way again because that's where he's going.
Yeah.
So he's like, let me do the whole dramatic walk.
Yeah.
All right, now turn around and walk back.
I know. It's like, I don't know. Hats off to you. I'm not making fun of you.
No, it's respect.
I'm saying I don't know. I don't know if I could be doing that. That's
They're
a lot.
at
Yeah.
least lucky in that instance where they're not the same guy editing it. They just have to film it all. Because even like this, like I've been in here all morning setting up all this stuff, and I'm gonna have these 2 conversations with you and
Yeah.
then Blade. But that's just the easiest part of the work for me. Now it's like I gotta go edit in that footage and this footage and the audio file and all this stuff together
Yeah.
to make it now like one solid thing. That takes time, and so it can be very
Patience.
discouraging too, like trying to make it in this business. Why a lot of people I feel like start and then stop, because you start, you do something like this, you put all this time into editing it, making it, filming it, recording it, whether it's a song or whatever it is, and then, or let's just use a song as examples for musicians. You wrote the song. You went through some stuff, in order to make you at that point of like
Yeah.
thinking about it, write it. You write it, you found music, you put that to it, you mixed it, mastered it, did all of this stuff. You spent time, and then you release it, and like 7 people listen to it. And
Yeah.
you're like, what's the point
Yeah.
of doing all that if nobody cares?
Yeah.
But you gotta be able to not think about it that way and
Yeah.
think about I'm doing it for me. If
Yeah.
everyone else is just along for the ride.
The
Like,
hardest part for me in that regard too was realizing that like you have people that encourage you if you have some kind of natural talent. Like I've always been able to sing. So I've always had people tell me, you should do something with that. Like, why aren't you
Mm-hmm.
singing? You know, I live in a small town, so a lot of it was like, you should come to church. I'm not religious. No, thank you. I'm not going to get up there and like sing about Jesus if I don't believe in that stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's wrong. But I had a lot of people always like, you should do this, you should, and then like friends and family, and then you do it, and it's like crickets, and you're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
how am I gonna get strangers to believe in my abilities when like my friends and family, and it's not everybody, by the way, like they're supportive people, but you know, I have family that I love so much and I'm very close to. They've never come to a single show, even if it was like right down the road from
Mm-hmm.
them. That was really hard for me at first. Now I don't care. I love you guys. Sit in your house in your pajamas. I totally get why that's comfy after a long week of work. But at first, like, it hurt my feelings a lot. I was like, man, I'm really putting
Mm-hmm.
myself out here, you know, and I thought at least I would have some support from the people who have been encouraging me to do this for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't happen. And it was like the first big slap in the face. And then, I don't know, it's like it really like decreased my confidence because it's like, how are you going to make strangers like you and want to follow you and believe in you if people who have been around you your whole life aren't supporting you?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big, humongous bummer. But then, you know, once you go through that and you realize like it doesn't matter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't matter as long as it's what I want to do and I believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything, law of attraction is real. I totally believe that. Everything falls into place as it should.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think a lot of that too is back to the point of being in your same hometown because
yeah.
like you're just Tara to everybody.
Yeah.
And a big problem I've realized is when you actually commit to yourself and are doing stuff like that. I feel like when you're around when you show up to your old friend group, all they want to talk about is the old days or all the
Yeah.
stuff that you used to do or the stuff you used to be like. And I'm like, I'm not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
And when you are really trying to do something with your life and it really points out to them their shortcomings of what they're not doing, because it's really easy to be like, look at like Taylor Swift, one of the biggest stars in the world, and you're like, man, she's doing great. Look at all this stuff. But if she was from your exact hometown and you went to school with her,
Yeah.
then it really makes you feel bad of like, what am I doing? Like, I
Yeah.
grew up with them. I'm in the same spot, but
Yeah.
I'm just doing that. So I feel like in your hometown a lot, it's that area in particular will be most guilty of being a little harder on you, a little
Yeah.
harder to accept that you're really doing what you want, and it just points out their shortcomings of
Yeah.
what they're not doing. So that's why we've even done better at your guys' shows that you've gone farther away. The more
Yeah.
you branch out, the more people are like, where have you been?
Yeah.
You know?
And honestly, I came to really enjoy that more because, you know, if you have your sister coming up to you after a show going, hey, you did great. Like, I'm not saying she's lying. Or one of my best friends, Amber, she has come to so many shows. Like, she's been a huge supporter, and you know, she loves me. So take people that love you, kind of take what they say with a grain of salt, you know, because they love you. Like, of course, they're like, woo, you
Definitely.
go, little rock star. But you go far away where literally no one has any idea who you are, and then you open your mouth and you sing, and they're like, whoa, that was really good. Like, they don't have they don't have any reason to pay you any compliment besides the fact that they just genuinely liked what they heard. And that feeling, once that starts happening, is like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm like I'm in the right spot for me. Like, this is fine.
Definitely. And also, like, you can never be too hard on yourself when you do something that's like a creative, because art in any form is just subjective. It's entirely different. That same video I was talking about, the dude commented on, like, this is trash. And I even said it wasn't good in the song. The next comment was, why is this kind of fire, though? I'm like, just some
I
random
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be.
But
I
if
wrote
you
it
like
in
it,
20 minutes.
hell yeah. Yeah.
I just sat here, wrote it all over like a minute beat.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny. Everything you have to do something like this for you and not for the fan, because if you're doing it for the fan, the second that gratification or that justification goes away, you'll be deflated. You're just done. You're stopped. You know, there's nothing.
Yeah.
You can't gotta ignore the white noise of everybody, be able to do it for you. Like, I feel so great every time I finish a song. I'm sitting there uploading it, about to
Mm-hmm.
send it out to the world. That's the joy to me. Like, we sat down, like I was saying earlier, you went through some stuff, you made a song, you made a beat or found a beat, you mixed it, mastered it, put it all out, and then the second you go to release it, that's the best part to me. I'm on to the next one. I could care less. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just out. It's out to the wolves.
Yeah.
Some wolves are gonna love it. Some wolves are gonna be like, not for me, and I don't
Yeah.
care. The joy for me was actually sitting down and making the project.
Right.
I could care less what it does out there. I mean, obviously, you want your stuff to do good,
Of
but if
course.
nobody ever listens to my stuff, I don't care.
Yeah.
At least I know that when I'm laying on my deathbed, I'm not gonna be thinking about, man, I should have stayed with my 9 to 5 longer. I'm gonna be like, at least glad. You know what? I dove into myself.
Yeah.
And by that point, when you made it all the way to your deathbed, you're going to realize that all the little stuff that you thought was holding you back that you needed to take care of didn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's going to be gone the next day. Even right now, like, obviously your kids are super important. You need to spend time with all that. But if you put off everything you're doing for your kids are going to turn 18 and move out. And then you're like, man,
Yeah.
I mean, either start now or at that point, or just realize, like, I could have been 18 years of practice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I could have been diving into all this.
Right.
Even if you're not fully, like, putting stuff out and doing everything, you could have been, like, writing music and working on all those kind of things for that amount of time. But
Yeah.
most people never even take that step because they have
Yeah.
all these excuses of, I have to do this first, I have to do this first, I have to make sure this is done. We've, dove into music. Blade's working super part-time. You still got your job, but, like, you guys have taken care of everything.
Yeah.
We talk about it a lot, me and Blade, about the fact that, like, really we've already won. You're not like the biggest stars in the world or living solely off your music. But you guys get to write songs every day. You get to record in your studio. You get to go play shows every weekend. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's the life you want.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes is the amount of people listening.
Yeah.
It just goes up from there, and
Yeah.
the money that comes with it. But
Right.
you can't be chasing the money. You got to be
Yeah.
chasing the lifestyle of what you
Right.
really want.
Yeah, I mean, we're already doing it. We're already in it. I mean, at this point, we're just building that to be our full-time life. We're just slowly, which I mean, that slowness is because we have kids. If we didn't have any,
Yeah.
it would be a lot different. I mean, I'm fine with the starving artist lifestyle. However, I had babies and I can't subject them to the starving artist lifestyle. So, there's that complexity there. But no, I mean, Blade and I talk about it all the time when the kids are out, when they're grown and they're doing their own thing. If we haven't hit it big, we've got our camper and we're just going to either sell the house that we're in or like leave it to the kids, if they want a place, if they want to stay home longer. And we're going to travel and we're going to do what we're doing, but we're going to be little nomads. And but if we've made it bigger by that point, like same, but just on a bigger scale, like it doesn't really matter what level of success we achieve between now and then. Our goal is still the same.
Yeah.
So
Well, the only thing in my mind that matters is the fact that you have committed to yourself.
yeah,
You've not, you aren't putting it off anymore. Now, if you never make it, at least you tried.
yeah,
It's a lot more reassuring to know that you actually tried for something, even if you fail, rather than
Yeah.
the fact of never trying, because
Yeah.
that's what you'll regret, is never going for it.
Yeah.
If you work at this your whole life and never make it, I doubt you're going to regret the fact of what you've done with your life.
no,
You might be a little discouraged and be like, man, really wish,
it would have been cool,
yeah.
but
Oh, well, you spent your
There
life
was a
making
lot,
music
yeah.
and with your partner, it's also a musician, so
yeah, and that's in and of itself is really special.
you get on
To
stage
have-
with your partner and sing every
Yeah,
weekend.
it's awesome. People see that chemistry and compliment us on it, and that's really cool. And also, we just understand each other fully in this industry, and we're tired and stressed out together. We have we're in it. Like we understand each other fully in that way, and that's really special. I think just being a couple in general, like we get it. We get each other. We're both musicians. We understand. We understand the hustle, the struggle, and all that in between. We're doing it together. Sometimes we're doing different things, but we understand each other fully, and that's a big deal. It's a hard lifestyle to maintain a relationship. So
And the thing is, too, like, when you really start on the path that you're supposed to be on, things just kind of start coming together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I doubt you and Blade ever would have got together if he wasn't already diving back into his music for real. If he was
Yeah.
just doing what he was doing before,
Yeah.
had relationships that had nothing to do with his career, which is
Yeah.
fine. You don't your relationship doesn't have to be pertaining to your career. Those can be separate. That's fine. But just the way that worked out for him. Like, now you guys are a duet group, and that solely came. He reached out to you music wise.
Yeah.
It wasn't even about relationship.
Yeah.
And it probably subtly was for Blade. It's Blade.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. He swears up and down that it was purely platonic and we were just friends. Like, and truly, that's how it felt. I mean, there really wasn't
He's
any.
probably a little nervous too, because
Yeah.
again, he had dated your sister briefly in school, so he's like, I don't know if I want to hit her up and hang out.
Yeah.
Might be some drama there,
No,
but know.
no. There wasn't any flirtation at all. It was just like, hey, I saw that were posting videos of you singing again. I think that's really cool. I'm doing this. If you ever want like help with anything, or I go to the studio every Sunday. I know a guy. If you ever want to do that, like, hit me up. And I thought that was super cool. And I, at the time, had a super shitty Donner guitar from Amazon, and I was trying to learn how to play without any help. And I was like, hey, yeah, do you think you could actually, like, we could hang out and you could, like, help me get started on this too? And he was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And so that was that. It did feel super platonic, very much just like old friends. Like, I'm talking grade school, reconnecting as adults over a mutual interest.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something like super sexy and romantic about music. And I don't, if there was already some type of connection there before, and there's the availability to pursue something different. Basically what I'm saying is we practiced, but then we went to a bar and got drunk and sang karaoke to each other, and the rest is history. You can't, it's kind of hard to mask that kind of chemistry. So yeah.
I mean, even also, I mean, the fact that you guys are both have that mentality, it's very attractive to find anybody, whether it's relationship wise or just as even a friend. It's very attractive to find someone who's motivated, and someone who's motivated towards the same goal you have.
Yeah.
Because it's reassuring when your whole life you've been around those realists that are like, nah, you can't do that, to be around someone who's like, well, you could.
Yeah.
It's just such a freeing feeling to
Yeah.
be around people like that. Had another thought I wanted to say about that, but it slipped my mind for now.
I think it's just another good example of the law of attraction. Was, his path shifted, and he started focusing on bettering himself and leaning into his goals and his desires and things that he wanted and, like, truly wanted for himself. And he really focused on that. And in doing that, he brought more people into his life that had, I didn't know it at first, but that was kind of going that same direction. So I think it's really beautiful when you think about, stepping back. Like, you don't have to try so hard to, like, find people or find your partner or
find you.
Just focus on being the best you. And I know there's, like, all those self-help books and everyone's like, oh, blah, focus on your best self. But truly, I mean, just focus on working on you and be honest with yourself and what you actually want. And then you will put yourself in situations to be surrounded by like-minded people. And then you can have like-minded relationships, whether they're friendships or a romantic relationship. And that just propels everything else forward. It doesn't take away from what you were already doing. You just move forward, you get better, you build on yourself and your partner, should that come along, or new friends, should they come along. And that's really what happened. It was really cool to see that in real time, to be a part of something like that. And me too. I was a single mom and alone a lot, and in a job that took a lot out of me that I didn't really like. But I had 2 girls, and I was supporting them by myself, and I had I don't know. I didn't really have an outside life because I had my girls all the time. But music in some form was still therapeutic to me, and I was sad, and I leaned into that natural instinct and just started doing that, and doing that brought me literally here. Like that was the first step to being here. So it's just crazy.
That was actually
Yeah.
the point that had escaped me for a minute. Is the fact is back to the law of attraction. It's when you're thinking about something and you have an actual goal and it's what consumes your mind. You subconsciously start making the choices that'll get you there.
Yeah.
And it's something as simple as you taking a small risk and throwing some random little videos of you singing has got you all the way here because somebody saw that, the right person hit you up, and now we're recording in a studio at least once a week, almost daily in here doing
Recording
something.
in a studio in our house.
We built the whole thing at the house.
Yeah, doing the damn thing. I mean, this weekend we had 2 shows locally here. We travel like around everywhere, but these were both local. So that's nice. It kind of cuts down our drive time. It creates like a little more of a laid back weekend, I feel like. But I mean, it's just crazy. Like to be doing that and to be in front of people and singing and to be like a performer, we talk and make new friends and goof off with the audience, and then we get to sing our favorite songs and songs that we wrote, and I get paid to do that. Like that's that's really cool. I never, if you would have told me 10 years ago,
That was
18,
my next question.
yeah,
What would you say to yourself
I
2 or 3
said,
years ago?
You're fucking crazy. I am like that's for dreamers. I had 100% shut down that whole aspect of me, and that's so sad. There's I am where I'm at now, and it's been a journey, and I really wouldn't change any of it because changing it means that I wouldn't be who I am. I mean, I would be different in some way. But I do wish I could kind of go back to younger me and be like, hey, girl, you can lean into...
You can take a chance on yourself.
Yeah, you can lean into that. I mean, even if it's just a little bit, even if you are a young wife, a young mom, you can still lean into that in whatever way fits your life at that moment. So that part makes me sad that I gave up years of doing something that I loved in any degree. But, it is what it is.
That's one thing I think a lot of people fail to realize is that time is our only real currency. Because, like, you now are learning to record. We're getting you to become a pretty solid recording engineer at this point, so where you can record your own songs.
Yeah.
And that hasn't really taken that long. So, like, if back then when you were still married, had 2 new kids, if you would have been able to step back and not look at it as this big picture that's like, again, that's where I say, like, you need a plan and some baby steps. You can't look at it as like, I want to be a big old artist, because that's just like overwhelming.
Yeah.
But like, if you would have been able to take that chance on yourself, you could have had a small studio in your house. You could have had a little desk set up with a mic and a keyboard and a piano, or and a laptop, and been fine.
Yeah. And it's not and it's like in no way my ex-husband's like doing or anything like that. I don't think
it's just a belief thing.
Yeah,
in the way your brain works.
I don't think he ever would have shat on that or been unsupportive in any way. It was really me. It was literally just my barriers in my own mind.
You gotta get out of your own way.
Yeah,
that's a
truly.
big thing.
Yeah,
you can do a whole lot more than you believe you can do if you just dive into yourself. We're all capable. I like to say all the time, if any human has ever done it, you can do it. We all are born with exactly the same thing, with exactly the same we're a newborn baby, ain't got nothing going on. Anybody who's done anything started exactly there. So why can't you do it? Just dive into yourself. But most people don't do that or can't. Or even if you have trouble doing that, do what I did. I wasn't in a great spot, so I dove into one of my best friends. Because we had like-minded careers. I am now a music producer and, I guess, content creator when it comes to like running YouTube and doing all this. I want to make movies. That's like what I really wanted to do. I wanted to make films.
Yeah.
But I had a buddy who wanted to make music. I've always loved music too. And I love enjoying making music, but still not really one of my main goals to be like a huge musician. If it happens, it happens, but
Yeah.
I make music for fun.
Yeah.
But like even there, I just paired up with somebody like I knew he wanted to make music and I wanted to make movies. So I can make music videos. Even before we had a studio or we were recording with other studios. I set my camera up, it was a little GoPro with a little like shirt mic and stretched it towards him. And there you go. Like we're uploading songs on YouTube every day. And it's amazing. At first you start getting a crazy response because everyone's like, you're doing something.
Yeah.
And then all those people, like I was talking earlier, they start feeling a little bad about themselves, I feel
Yeah.
like. And they all start pulling back. You start getting a lot of
Yeah.
less support from the real close
Yeah.
groups, But you start to draw in more of the outsiders, the people you never even
Yeah.
knew that are
Yeah.
like now following you and liking all your stuff. And it's cool.
Which it's really sad too. I mean, that if you have somebody in your friend group or your family that's like all of the sudden committing to their their dream or their goal or whatever, and it makes you feel bad about yourself, just know that that person only ever wants to see you succeed in whatever you want. Like whatever you want. If your dream is white picket fence, 9 to 5, cozy home, husband, kids, then hell yeah, I want that for you. If your dream is to own a restaurant, run a restaurant, hell yeah, I want that for you. So like, don't shy away from those friends who are going after what they want, because it makes you feel some kind of way, because they're going to be your biggest cheerleaders. They get it, they know, and they want you to succeed in that way too. Like, don't fall off because they've made the jump. All they want is for you to make the jump for whatever you want to.
It's another thing personally. I feel like it just feels easier to stick with the realist. It's safe. Like when you can either go join this group of ambitious people that will further help you propel whatever your career is. Like even now, like I'm running all this, but with a restaurant, for example, if I had a friend trying to start their own restaurant, all they gotta do is hit me up. Like I'll film commercials for you. We'll run ads. We'll do whatever you need to do to help you. But out of the little bit of fear that a lot of people put on themselves of really committing to things, they'll pull back, shy away, and dip back into their safe little friend groups that are the people that are like, just that mentality of that can never happen. It can be just as justifying if you're scared to have somebody say, don't waste your time, that's not going to happen, as it can be if you're motivated to have somebody that's like, no, of course you can do it. Either way can make you feel just as safe if you're scared or if you're motivated. You just need, it's that, again, back to the law of attraction. Like if you're a scared person and scared to dive into yourself, and then you're going to start surrounding yourself with those like-minded people that are also scared, and that's going to make you feel more safe. I'm a big fan of the imposter syndrome kind of thing. Like if I don't feel that, I start to feel bad. Like I'm not leveling up. I'm like, I'm in the exact same spot. I'm too comfortable doing what I'm doing. I like it when I feel stressed to the point of like, can I even do this? Am I the right person for this? Because I don't know, like I'm moving up. I'm doing stuff, I don't like the complacency feeling of like I'm here, because I don't feel like I'm going anywhere, I have to have that stress of like, oh God, there's too much on my plate to keep me motivated. But a lot of people, that even alone is intimidating for them, the idea of being stressed consistently and not. But I feel like everyone's going to be stressed consistently anyway. You're stressed with your job and with your kids and with making sure you got them all fed and with trying to get to all your family events and trying to find a way to hang out with your friends on the weekend and all that. That can be just as stressful as trying to make sure you drop a song Friday and you have shows booked for Saturday.
Yeah.
Like you just got to choose what you stress on, Like all of life is going to be stressful as hell. Just, stress on something that's worth your time to you, Don't waste too much time stressing on shit that don't matter.
Yeah, agreed. Do we need to check the iPad? It's been an hour.
Yeah, I'll look on it.
Or does it like shut off
I'm
whenever?
not sure. I want to say it made a noise last time. Oh, we're still going.
Okay.
But we'll probably start wrapping this up here pretty soon, just to keep that safe. So we can lead into that. My general closing question that would be here is, which we've already explained, a lot of it would be, what is the biggest change for you that made you feel ready? And then also, what would you say to someone who is in that stage of just being never ready and waiting for the moment to come?
Well, biggest change was initially community, and then just kind of changing my thought process about myself and being a cheerleader for myself. That is really hard sometimes. Everyone, you're your own worst critic for the most part. So being your biggest cheerleader and your worst critic is really complicated. It's complex. So that just shifting my mindset in that way. And what I would say to somebody on the fence is just do it. In whatever way you start, tiptoe into it if you have to, but just do it. In doing it, you're going to attract the life that you want, even if it's just singing to a karaoke track on YouTube and posting a video on Facebook. Like, literally, even if it's just that, it will amount to something, as long as you just start trying
Just
and
take
start
a chance.
doing. Yeah, you just gotta. I hate it, but you just have to jump. Even if it's a little baby jump, you just have to do it. Nobody's gonna do it for you. Nobody's. Somebody might try and push you, but if you're anything like me, someone trying to push you is like, fuck off,
Go
So
the
that's,
other way.
yeah, that's not going to help. You just have to do it. You just have to make your mind up, and you have to do it. Even if your eyes are closed and you don't know where you're going to land, you just got to do it.
Like you said, make your mind up, because to me, everything in life just all comes down to making that choice. When you fully decide, I am going to do this. This is going to be who I am, what I do. No, I don't know what form it's going to take, how it's going to turn out in the end, or how, but I'm making that choice to commit to myself, and whatever it is that you want to do. I know that we're all musicians, so typically this ends up music-wise, but again, if you want to start a restaurant, you want to have a vlog, I don't care what it is, you want to be the greatest dog walker in the world, just start doing it. Just make that choice to commit to yourself. And that's the biggest change I feel like in life that you can do, is just, it all comes down to the choice.
Yeah. My biggest gratifying experience in this so far is just inwardly talking to younger versions of myself, I think about 10-year-old Tara, with my grandpa. He's the one that really got me into actually singing in front of people. He had a band with his buddies, and they would get together and would throw friend and family gatherings and set up all their equipment in my grandpa's auto body shop. And we would barbecue and we would sing, and my grandpa could carry a tune, and he really got me into it. And yeah, it was exhilarating. It was just our family and friends, but I got up there and I sang Jackson by Johnny and June, which is something that Blade and I sing together now. And he taught me how to sing all that old country music, like Stand By Your Man by Tammy Wynette. That's one of the first songs I sang in front of anybody. And so, yeah, just I made that little girl really, really happy, because when I was her, that's all I wanted, was to perform in front of people and sing and feel that rush. And I lost her as I got older, but I found her again, and I've made her very, very proud. So if that is all it ever amounts to, that's okay by me, because I fucking did it.
Well said.
Did it. Yeah.
And final thing, let the people know where they can find you, what's to come, what.
Yeah. So Tara Nickole, Nickole, because my dad was super extra whenever they named me. He couldn't pick whether to spell it with a C or a K, and he said both. So here we are. but that throws people off sometimes. I am everywhere you stream music, literally, and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Although I'm not super cool and trendy, I'm trying to be better with TikTok, but y'all are like literal professional video editors all over that app, and I'm like, what do I don't know. So I'm trying to be better about that, but you can find me literally everywhere. You just have to, you can even Google my name, Tara Nickole. You can Google me and I'll pop up. There is other Tara Nickoles, but I don't think there's anybody with a CK in their middle name. So thanks, Dad, once again. But yeah, and we are, next time we're performing is November 30th in Hot Springs at the Tap House. So if you're in that area and you're interested in a mixture of country, classic rock, 90s now, covers, originals, all that good stuff, we have Blade, who's he's got that grit in his voice, and then you have me, who has all the pretty little harmonies in there. So anyways, yeah, we're fun to listen to, we're fun to hang out with, so check us out. You might see something you like.
All right, yeah. Appreciate it. And as always, I hope we can help you feel a little bit less like you're never ready, and give you at least some sort of insight into people who felt the same way and just did it anyways. But
yeah, that's all it is. It's even now, as we advance and progress, it's just a long string of not being ready but doing it anyways.
That's the biggest thing. I probably should have called this company Do It Anyways.
Do it anyways. Just do it, because yeah.
But anyways, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Peace.